and Jim is in treatment in New York City, and so I was a little PO'd. I don't think we have the right to just insult people that we don't know. It's just not Jim Thomas. The guy's been a community servant for 40 years, so I wasn't going to stand for it. So yes, don't say shame on you, Jim Thomas. Don't call him unethical. I have all the proof and evidence to show. What are we doing? We're a nonprofit. There's no conflict of interest with Josh Ritchie. He's not on my board.
So you stand behind it. So
I gave you my phone number. I was happy to take a call.
Yeah, it was interesting that you would only do it verbally where there was no record in writing about it.
I gave you the
that
record in writing, Mr. Crowley.
But you stopped responding. So I took my shot in your opinion. You took your shot in my opinion. After that, I provided some tangible feedback regarding alternate locations. True or false?
True.
Okay. And the communication just stopped. So I just wanted that to be part of the record. That's it. Like I said, it's water under the bridge. We can move past that. But I think your response right now speaks volumes as well. With that said, moving along, I have some questions for council, but I'll stick to the YMCA specific questions for now, and I'll get another opportunity later. Is that fair? Provided there's time. So there were approximately $275,000 in grants awarded. Basically, I think they were all in 2025. Who were those grants applied for? Who applied for those grants, and who were they awarded to?
Are you asking the Y or council?
Anybody.
One was a GTRP grant. One was an LSA grant. Nonprofits have to get a sponsor for LSAs. It's common. We do it everywhere. Pittston City sponsors the Pittston YMCA's grant. So the grant applicant is the borough. Nonprofits aren't allowed to apply. They either have to apply through a municipality or the Luzerne County Redevelopment Authority. And on those projects, like the first project was a project to improve the park. The reason we want to improve the park is because child care centers need a place for kids to go and play outside. And the Y put up $13,000 of match funding for that project. They didn't have to do it. It's not our park. We don't own it. Now, granted, our kids want to use it, so we ponied up a couple bucks. We also did the grant administration ourselves. We got the estimates done. We applied. We put up the match funding. And yes, it's going to benefit us. It's also going to benefit everybody else who uses the park. I think that's a nice step in starting a partnership. Frankly, it was part of the due diligence. And I'll say this was my idea too. Ys need to be able to apply for grants. And so I was trying to come down and understand, because they hadn't applied for an LSA in 4 or 5 or 6 years. The LSA program is the most lucrative grant program. They give $11 million per year only to nonprofits and municipalities in Luzerne County. And to not apply for it is silly, but nonprofits need partners to help them apply for the funds. So that was the first one. We haven't implemented it yet, but it was a collaboration. The Y asked the Freeland Boro to sponsor. We offered the match funds, we did the work for the grant, and we haven't implemented it yet. We have 3 years to implement the work. The next grant, again, we're trying to improve the facility, try to build a child care program. We applied for a $210,000 grant. Again, the Y is the match provider, the borough was the sponsor, and that is to do ADA improvements and other facility upgrades. I don't know it exactly, but it was mostly ADA access to the facility.
And when did that process, when was the first application submitted, roughly?
The 2024 GTRP was May of 2024.
May of 2024. So 4 months after people took their seats. Now the question to council is, did the borough forego applying for any of its own grants for any of those programs in order to not be in direct competition with the Y?
No, we applied for grants. The fire company applied for grants at that time.
In May 2024?
Yeah.
Because there was never any votes at any of the meetings to apply for any grants leading up to that.
I believe there was.
There was, because there's resolutions that are required as part of the applications, so there were resolutions, they were included. It's a requirement of every DC grant application.
Well, I believe it was presented to the citizens as a letter of support for the grant, which is a little bit different from acting as a pass-through. I think you could agree. So we'll hash that all out via the right to know process. Just in case anybody forgets, there's a right to know submitted for that, so we could come back to that one. Thank you, though. You're very knowledgeable, obviously.
Can I ask you a question?
No, go ahead.
Thank you. My name's David Purcell. I've lived in this town most of my life. I moved out for a little while. I'm back. I have a business here. I restored a building downtown. sold it. And I get where you're coming from. The YMCA is a good organization, but that public park should be a no-go. If you wanna do what you wanna do, take any one of these dilapidated buildings in town and do it, I will support you 100%. But cut one tree down from that public park, and I swear to God, it's gonna kill this town.
I'm completely under the impression that there is zero chance that this happens. Part of the feasibility analysis is eliminating options.
Like I said,
Yeah.
pick a building.
Yeah, I'm down here today just to kind of set the record straight and at least speak on behalf of the Y and what we're trying to do. These projects take a ton of time. They go through many iterations. They change because we're not some big developer coming in who's got the capital to do this. You know, we stitch the support together for these things over the course of time. You know, it's like, so the Birkbeck parcels were shared, you know, like there's 811 Birkbeck Street that was shared with me after the fact. I mean, so like what we would need would be a cheap building that doesn't need significant code upgrades like sprinkler, life safety, et cetera. Like that's the best case scenario. But if it's going to be land, anything like locationally, anything between the park and the Freeland Elementary School.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I'm sure Code could find one to condemn and take it. I guarantee you they could. There's a lot of them in town. And like I said, I really hope you get what you want, but I just don't want to see that public park touched. That was something, them trees have been there since the beginning of this town, and it is just wrong on too many levels for council to even consider cutting one of them trees. It is
You do realize that
decent thing
we cut
left
trees down
in
almost
this
every
town.
year in the park, right? There's trees dead in the park and we're cutting them down every year.
That's different than taking down for
Not all.
construction.
Sure.
How much of the park would you need to do what you want to do? How much would you have to take?
1 inch is too much.
How much?
I think it was under .069 acres was the last drawing.
If I could.
Got shrunk down from there.
It's at 100 feet by 300 feet, so I went down there.
That was a non-starter, that.
Okay, because I took pictures today, I measured 100
Sure,
feet,
yeah.
and you're all the way down to 535 Johnson Street, which is about 7 doors down from the front of the Y. 3/4 of the swings would be gone. The playground equipment in the back would be gone. I mean, that was just, it was like 1/5 of the park, it was outrageous, so enough said about that.
What about the Methodist Park, the church? That's half walk away.
That's sold.
It's sold. Is the.
Let me take it back. So this really started August the 24th with when, you know, Mr. Laputka came, they talked about adding the daycare, you know, looking at their long-term vision for the Y to stay sustainable, because of the situation they're in. So, you know, there was private citizens approaching the Y, trying to offer properties. The whole time they've been looking at different opportunities or places to go. And then it came to a committee level, you know, sometime over the winter to spring about, is there anything that, you know, Freeland could collaborate with the YMCA to hopefully find a place for it to go. So, you know, I printed out the meeting minutes. I'm not going to get into it because we'll be here till 8 o'clock tonight. But this started in July for the public at a work session. We had a PowerPoint. There was several locations listed. No one had any input at that time about any of the parcels. I have, you know, who signed in for the meeting and stuff, and no one had anything to say at that time. So to say this came out of the blue, we take things at committee level until there's something concrete enough to go to the public to discuss. If the public has no input, we still have to continue with the business of the borough, right? So at that time, you know, we've talked about the old borough building. And every month in the meetings, we talk about what are we gonna do with the old borough building? It's a gorilla on our backs. All we do is expend, you know, all kinds of insurances and funds and utilities to have a building just sit there and decay. We talked about this building and not to, you know, sublet it or, you know, share it, but to actually see through the, you know, whatever legal process, we get to a point where we talk about things, then solicitors take these, kind of like when we bought the ambulance, right? So we talk about, then it takes 8 months till you get to the finish line. So this is just conversations to try and develop a plan. we suggested looking to sell this building if they're ever interested, because does not really suit the needs of the borough. No one's really happy when we bought it in the first place.
You know what's happening?
Yeah, right, I can't have nothing to do with what happened in the past with these things. So, we presented the old borough building, this building, we presented the land on Berwick Street, this we just acquired as a location, and, the park seemed to be the most suitable for them. So, it started in July, it was in August, on the meeting agenda again, and then, here we are today. So, it's not that other places aren't being considered. The short of the story is, the park, there's probably no viable path forward irregardless, because there's major infrastructure challenges, and the amount of money it would take to move sanitary sewer lines and other things are just not feasible. So, basically, the borough's moving on from the park. We don't really see a path forward for that, other maybe beyond parking, because everyone takes for granted, they think that that lot behind the park on Main Street is for residents. It's privately owned. If they ever start industry in there, and again, and they're making a lot of headway apparently with that building, that's gonna be no parking again. So every night you go by there, those parking lots are filled with kids on the basketball courts and wherever else they do in there. We have nowhere to go to the lower side by SureSave. That's why we had the survey done. I know there's a lot of questions about the survey. The survey was not done because of childcare. The survey was done because we got a grant for park improvements. Part of that was fencing. You can't put a fence in until you know your property boundaries. So that's why the survey's performed. So I don't know if that helps anybody with where we're at and any questions. You know.
So I have a question. So you're saying then that you're really doing this because of the daycare?
We're trying to expand the daycare program, so we're looking for a location.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many students do you have now in the daycare?
Jim is less than 10, right?
With 9 out of the 10 that we're looking
And is there a waiting list? Is there a call? Is there a need for it in camp?
That's at one level, that's at preschool, we're looking to expand from infant up, so there'll be more availability.
Yeah, but do we really need it? Has there been a study?
My son's baby has to go to Mountaintop to get a suitable daycare facility for his child. So I would say I know several other families that have a need. They go to Mountaintop or Hazelton or different locations because there's nothing here for them. So I can't speak beyond that. I just can only tell my personal, you know.
It's true, there's waiting lists too. There's waiting.
Yeah, there's waiting lists at these other daycares.
But we're not full.
Yes, we only accommodate 3 to 5-year-olds, we're not offering.
I think they could only provide services for a maximum of 12.
And it's a new program, so it's hard. And I will, so admittedly, we've done demographic analysis. And I've funded actual studies about does this area warrant a child care center or not? You know, so it's not, and it is far from exact science. I have a friend who does this for a living. Like, he used to own 7 centers, he sold them, and now he buys and sells daycares all the time. As a for-profit business, the demographic analysis doesn't work. Like, is the owner committed to making it work? Across all of our other centers, I'll say in Luzerne County, that there are wait lists at every other center that we have. So, again, we don't know about Freeland. The 1 mile radius is about a population of around 4,500. So the way it works, so there's 80, people live 80 years, so there's roughly 60 kids in each age group, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, whatever. So when I say 30 to 40 kids, it's because there's roughly 300 kids, possibly, who could even attend daycare. I don't know what those families do with those 300 kids. It's not a huge number, to be frankly, like I said. So, but then again, you can only figure out what the demand is by putting the product out there and marketing it and see what comes. When I was at Pittston, we had a program that had no wait list, and we had 6 kids in it for 4 years. Then we had a better run daycare when Wilkesburg came in because they knew child care a lot better than we did, and they ran the program, and now we have 90 kids in it, and we have a 50-person wait list. So I'm trying to tell people, you can't even just look at the current enrollment as an indicator, because what's the quality of the facility? What do parents experience and feel when they walk in? Because the Pittston daycare used to be a sad, poorly run daycare, not run by professionals. We were a standalone entity. We didn't have licensed people running the program. When we did, and people were like, oh wow, this is a quality thing. I could drop my kid off and feel safe, you know. I have 3 kids under 10. I just got through this process. My youngest was born in 2016. We wouldn't put him in the Pittston daycare in 2016. My youngest goes there now, you know, because like the state has like a quality rating program. Pittston's a star 4 now. They see that and like, oh, so the quality of it and the reputation of it creates demand. Whereas Jim's facility is brand new. It's a 1-star facility. It's one tiny little classroom. So there's a little bit, if you build it, it will come here. But admittedly, like the demographics aren't screaming, I'm dead honest, it's not screaming build one. Like my board isn't fully convinced that like, oh yeah, like this will be a home run if we do it. I'm looking at the math and saying 30 out of 300 is pretty reasonable, we could be successful. 30 is not the ideal size for a center either, like 80 is the capacity for an ideal center. You couldn't build an 80 student center in Freeland, at least based on the analysis that I've done on this. So that's why we're saying 30 to 40. And Jim was trying to make the point about age groups. He's only ages 3 to 5. Parents with kids 2 to 3 need care, 1 to 2 need care, and care, etc.
Was the grant, contingent, you putting stuff, improving the park, was that grant contingent on the?
That's just, what are we doing? We're doing fencing and mulch.
Topsoil, mulch, and clean up the park.
So our concern was safety. We're gonna bring 10 kids out at lunchtime and let them run around and play. You got 2 main streets there. All of our other playgrounds are fenced at some level. So it was a grant just to do fencing, just make it a little easier for a child care professional to yeah.
Instead of the, like, from across Stable Street from the Y, did you think about down below, where there is none?
Well, I would say we're still talking about the public park land at that point, right? So, still kind of
Playground.
Well, I mean, honestly, Lori, we know better than anybody, that swing set is, I don't know, it's been there since I'm a child, I'm not really sure, but like one, the pole's already busted and bent, there's another with a big cut in it. I mean, the equipment's kind of